In Britain, a terrible zombie virus escapes from a lab and spreads through the population, causing thousands of deaths. Don and his wife Alice, who has different colored eyes, manage to hide in a remote countryside cottage with a few other survivors: Jeff, Sally, Jacob, and Karen. Alice and Don have 2 children and are glad they sent them on a school trip to Spain because they're safe there. One day while the survivors are having lunch, they hear someone desperately pounding on their door and begging for help. Don doesn't like the idea of opening the door to strangers, but Alice points out it's a kid's voice and convinces him to let him in. They feed the boy while he shares his story. His parents became zombies and have been chasing him with a horde. The boy had to run all the way here from a neighboring town. Meanwhile, Karen is worried about her boyfriend, who left a few days ago and hasn't come back. She uncovers a small part of the window to look outside, but this is enough for the zombies to hear her and attack. They break through the window in the wood and grab her arm, quickly biting her. Jacob comes to the rescue and pulls her back, only for Karen to turn into a zombie and throw up lots of blood before fighting against Jacob's hold. At that moment, Don appears behind her and hits her on the head to kill her, allowing Jacob to run away. More zombies are coming, so Don stays to hold them off to give the others the chance to flee too. Alice and the boy take the hallway, but the zombies are starting to break through the other windows, so the duo runs upstairs, where the kid runs so fast that Alice loses track of him. Jeff, Sally, and Jacob try to escape through the cottage barn, but the zombies are coming after them too. Jeff holds the door so the other 2 can flee, and soon the door is kicked down, causing Jeff to die quickly under the zombies' attack. Sally cries as she watches her husband being devoured, and this delay allows the zombies to catch her too. Jacob isn't strong enough to pull her out of it and has to let go to close the hatch so he can escape through the window while Sally gets eaten as well. Downstairs, Don manages to bring down a bunch of zombies, but in the struggle he loses his weapon and has to start running as well. When he hears Alice scream, he runs to her and tries to convince her to escape, but Alice refuses to leave without the kid. As Don stays back, Alice finally finds the boy hiding, only for a zombie to cut in between them and Don. Alice begs for help, but Don is too scared, so he closes the door and escapes through the window, leaving his wife and the kid with the zombies inside the house. With dozens of zombies chasing after him, Don runs across the farmland while ignoring Alice at the window. Eventually he reaches the river dock, where Jacob is trying to escape on a motorboat. Don gets on the boat first to start the motor while Jacob finishes untying it, but when he tries to jump in, he slips and falls into the water, where he's bitten by the zombies. He soon transforms and tries to attack Don, who kicks him down and finally starts the motorboat to kill Jacob with the propeller blades before safely sailing away. 15 days after the outbreak, Britain is quarantined. By day 28, the virus has destroyed the entire country. 5 days later, the zombies begin dying of starvation, and 11 weeks later, the USA sends NATO forces to London to start cleaning the area. 18 weeks later, Britain is finally declared free of infection, and by week 24, reconstruction begins thanks to all the Britons who escaped during the chaos being allowed to come back. American soldiers still patrol and protect London, like Sniper Doyle and helicopter pilot Flynn. All the soldiers are bored with nothing to fight and use their radios to joke with each other. On the latest plane, a bunch of kids come back from their school trip, which annoys Dr. Scarlet because she thinks it's too early for young people to be exposed. While running tests on all the new arrivals, she meets Tammy and Andy, who happen to be Don and Alice's children. Scarlet notices that Andy has different colored eyes, and he explains he takes after his mom. Once the siblings are confirmed to be healthy, they take the train and watch how soldiers keep burning down bodies, getting rid of toxic waste, and washing every corner of town. Eventually they reach a fortified repatriation zone known as District 1, where they finally reunite with their father Don. He takes them to his fancy apartment he got for being the caretaker of District 1, but the kids are more interested in knowing what happened to their mom. Don tells them how the zombies attacked the cottage but lies that he saw Alice getting killed, so there was nothing he could do to help. The night, Andy has a nightmare of Alice becoming a terrifying zombie, and when he wakes up he goes to sleep with his sister as he admits he's afraid of forgetting his mother's face. The next morning, Andy and Tammy wait for Don to leave for work and sneak out of the apartment without telling him. They leave the safe zone by carefully crossing the side of the bridge, which is seen by Doyle from his spot on a roof. While he alerts his team, the sibling runs through an unoccupied part of London, enjoying the lack of adults scolding them. When they find a delivery bike outside a pizzeria, Tammy goes inside to find the keys and is horrified to find rotting bodies everywhere. Covering her mouth and nose, Tammy carefully takes the keys from a body and gets startled by a bunch of roaches. Then she grabs a helmet too and reunites with her brother to leave together on the bike. As they drive through the city, they see all the damage left by the zombie attack and all the extra graves that were built in the last few months. Eventually they reach their old home, where they grab a picture of Alice and collect some of their old belongings. When Andy enters the attic, he finds the windows covered in lots of rotten food on a table. There also are weird marks and the siblings' names on the wall. Suddenly he sees someone in the mirror and thinks it's Tammy, but the person comes out and reveals to be Alice, who has a bloodshot eye but otherwise is fine. Alice rushes to hug her son and at first Andy is happy, but soon Alice starts hugging him too strongly. At that moment the military arrive and take the kids away while capturing Alice. Sometime later, Alice is given a thorough shower and tied to a stretcher. Scarlet tries to ask her some questions, but Alice stays silent. Then Scarlet takes a blood sample and notices Alice was bitten, which makes no sense because she hasn't transformed. When Scarlet is done with the tests, she confirms that Alice carries the virus and can infect others, but she's somehow immune. This means she could be the key to creating a vaccine. However, the higher-ups want to kill her before she spreads the virus and tell Alice to do her testing later on the dead body. Meanwhile, the siblings are in quarantine, and when Don comes to see them, they yell at him for lying. Feeling guilty, Don slips past the military security to visit Alice in the isolation room. He apologizes for running and explains he had reacted to panic, to which Alice responds with "I love you." Touched, Don returns the words and kisses his wife. Her saliva immediately infects Don, who starts feeling very sick and begins yelling in pain as he becomes a zombie. Alice is terrified, but she's still tied up and can't escape from an incoming Don, who beats her up, bites her neck, and then crushes her eyes. Afterward, Don attacks a bunch of guards, killing them with his bite before escaping from the hospital to spread the virus through District 1. When the higher-ups discover what happened, they move to a safety bunker and execute a lockdown called Code Red. While the soldiers in town get ready to fight, Tammy and Andy watch their guard cross the door, only to come back transformed into a zombie. He begins hitting the glass trying to reach them until his head suddenly explodes when Scarlet shoots him. Then she frees the kids and takes them with her, seeing all the bodies in the building as they run. Soon they end up in a desperate crowd trying to escape, and when the soldiers try to tell Scarlet that civilians must go through another door, she announces that the kids are top priority figures. An argument ensues, and in the chaos, Andy gets separated from Scarlet and Tammy, getting pushed with other civilians into a safe room garage. Then the soldiers lock them all inside for their protection right before the power cuts out in the whole district. While waiting, Andy hears a noise and goes to check the door to find his zombie father covered in blood. Don goes crazy and shakes the door until he manages to break in, quickly jumping on the civilians to start biting them. Andy runs in panic and tries to hide while the virus begins to spread through the garage, causing people to panic and make the whole situation worse. Now Don isn't the only one biting people. Zombies keep appearing all over the room and making even more of them. Andy manages to climb on top of the crowd and crawls away until he reaches the ventilation system and hides in there. The rest of the people finally break the lock and take the stairs, which allows the zombies to also escape and continue to spread the virus. On the streets, enough emergency lights are turned on so the soldiers can run to the hospital and the snipers can provide cover. Soon the zombies reach the lobby, so Scarlet and Tammy begin running away while the soldiers open fire. Doyle and the other rooftop snipers kill zombie after zombie with admirable skill, but no matter how many they shoot, more keep coming out. It's also becoming hard to see who is infected and who isn't. They're supposed to shoot only the zombies, but seeing the chaos on the security cameras, the higher-ups admit they lost control and order the soldiers to kill everyone in sight. As the soldiers increase the fire and a massacre ensues, Andy comes out of the vents right into the middle of the chaos. Luckily he's in the sector watched by Doyle, who refuses to kill survivors. He proceeds to shoot every zombie around Andy and even the one that almost kills him, giving the kid the chance to escape with other survivors. A few zombies reach the roofs and begin killing other snipers, so after cleaning out the street, Doyle has no choice but to escape as well. The survivors run to hide inside a warehouse, where Andy reunites with Scarlet and Tammy and tells his sister about their dad. Soon Doyle shows up as well and offers to guide the survivors out of the area before the military kills them too. The group leaves the building through the back door and carefully sneaks through the streets, always making sure to stay in the dark so they won't be seen by other guards. When Flynn flies by with the helicopter, Doyle makes the group wait and distracts Flynn through the radio before making the group move again. Then Flynn drops some bad news. The military will be bombing all of District 1 in 4 minutes. Doyle convinces him to pick him up at Regent's Park, not telling him about the survivors. Afterward the group starts running toward the park, but a sniper kills one of the guys. The group rushes to hide, but the sniper never stops shooting and a few more survivors get killed in the process. Scarlet gets a flesh wound, and now the only ones left are her, the siblings, Doyle, and a guy named Sam. Once they're hidden behind a wall, Doyle tries using the reflection of a piece of metal to find the sniper, who immediately shoots the object down. This makes Doyle realize the guy isn't an actual soldier, just a civilian panicking. Doyle asks Sam to run in zigzag to distract the shooter so he can kill him, but Sam refuses, so Andy goes out instead. The zigzag running is enough to make an amateur fail all his shots and gives Doyle enough time to kill the guy with just one shot. Then Andy hides behind another wall and is shocked to see his father standing nearby, but before he can react, the group comes to pick him up and Don's image disappears. Then the group runs as fast as they can and climbs over a fence to get out of District 1 right before the area is bombed. Soon the whole area is blowing up, thousands of people are killed, and all of Scarlet's research for a cure gets destroyed. Flames go through the hospital windows and catch Alice, burning her to death. The group continues to run through a tunnel that is being reached by the flames as well, but they manage to get out before the building explodes too. The generals watch it all from their bunker and are shocked to notice a large number of zombies have survived the bombing and are escaping into London, entering every building looking for victims and causing chaos everywhere. In the morning, Doyle's group finally reaches Regent's Park, which has been abandoned since the virus broke out. While they wait for Flynn, Scarlet tells Doyle about Alice and the possibility of the children carrying the same gene that could hopefully create a vaccine. At that moment Flynn contacts Doyle and tells him he's on his way, but they must watch out for the zombies that escaped. Doyle immediately makes everyone hide in the tall grass and Flynn lands nearby, but he gets angry when he sees the group and refuses to take them. As an argument ensues, Sam notices the zombies are coming closer, so he runs to hold onto the chopper. A furious Flynn begins flying around with crazy moves intending to make Sam fall, and when the zombies finally reach the park, he brings the helicopter down and starts killing the zombies using the rotor blades. Lots of blood and guts cover the tall grass, but a few zombies still manage to survive and begin chasing Doyle, Scarlet, and the kids. Sam eventually falls, and since he's covered in blood, he probably becomes a zombie as well. The group keeps on running as fast as they can while Doyle occasionally turns around to shoot at the zombies that get too close. Flynn tells Doyle to meet him at the Wembley Stadium but insists on ditching the others. When they turn around a corner, the group is shocked to discover the military has begun pumping gas into the city, so they rush to hide inside a car. At that moment the zombies catch up to them and start shaking the vehicle, spreading their blood all over the windows. However, soon the gas reaches them and kills them all in seconds. Afterward, a bunch of soldiers appear with flamethrowers to kill any survivors, so Doyle tries to start the car. Unfortunately, it won't work, so Doyle goes out to push the vehicle by jump-starting, helping Scarlett and the kids escape but getting burned to death by the soldiers in the process. Scarlett takes over the wheel and drives through London as fast as possible, only to be seen by other military helicopters that open fire on them. After dodging a few bullets, Scarlett drives the car into the subway tunnels, then they continue on foot. The lower tunnels are very dark, so Scarlett uses Doyle's night vision scope to guide the children down an escalator. However, they step on some old bodies and slip, causing them to fall and get separated. As she walks through the bodies, Scarlett begins yelling the siblings' names and reunites with Tammy, but the noise allows a zombie to find them too. The creature takes Doyle's weapon and begins beating Scarlett up until she's dead. After the zombie is gone, Tammy picks up the weapon and is devastated to see Scarlett's body. Meanwhile, Andy ends up on a dark platform, where he's found by the zombie that killed Scarlett. The monster jumps on him and bites his neck, so by the time Tammy arrives it's too late. When the zombie raises his head, she's shocked to see it's her father, but after the initial hesitation she still shoots him to death. Then a crying Tammy checks on her brother, but Andy runs away in fear of infecting her. Tammy immediately follows him, and when Andy accidentally falls, Tammy finally checks on him to notice his eye is turning bloodshot just like Alice's, meaning he's also immune. Afterward, the siblings arrive at the stadium and give Flynn the bad news about Doyle. With no other choice, Flynn takes the kids away, flying over Britain to escape into mainland Europe. 28 days later, Flynn's helicopter is empty and abandoned in France with someone calling for help over the radio. Then a horde of zombies are shown running towards the Eiffel Tower, revealing that the virus has now spread outside Britain. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.